Well, thank you and welcome this evening. We're so thankful that you've taken some time out of your evening to listen to this information or to watch the recording. My name is Julie. I'm going to be your host tonight, along with Erica and Jess, are a part of an amazing community called the Healthy Living Revolution. And our goal is to come alongside of individuals and families and help them take their health back in ways that are simple, doable, and fun. So we're going to share some education with you and then an amazing solution followed by some stories. So let's get going on the education. We are passionate because there are two startling trends that are happening in our world today. And the first is that environmental toxins are increasing. So whether this is products we're putting on our skin, the food that we're eating, the water that we're drinking, the air that we're breathing, the pharmaceuticals that we're taking, our world is so much more toxic today than it was for our ancestors. And at the same time that our world is becoming more toxic, our food quality is severely decreasing. So I love this image because this gentleman is in the center aisles of the grocery store. And I know I made a really important switch in my wellness journey about 8 years ago when I decided I was going to stop looking at calories and fat and start looking at the ingredients in my food. And I was shocked when I realized that most of what I was eating wasn't really food. It was full of ingredients I couldn't pronounce or I didn't know what it was, and many ingredients, in each food. And I realized it was more food-like products. And often when we're shopping these center aisles at the grocery store, that's what we find. So now I aim for less than 5 ingredients and all ingredients that I can pronounce. It's crazy how difficult that can be in the beginning. But the scary thing is that our food should be the first line of defense against this toxic environment, but it's one of the leading contributors to our toxicity. It's full of things like artificial colors, synthetic vitamins, and enhancers. And the results of this mix is very scary. This is Dr. David Katz. He's the head of prevention at Yale. And he said that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. Since he said this quote, it's been proven true that this will be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents if we don't make any changes. In fact, last month, the CDC decreased the life expectancy from 77 to 74. So in a time when we have more medical advances than we have ever had, the fact that we are doing something that's causing our life expectancy to decrease for the first time in generations is very alarming. By age 12, many of our children have developed the beginning stages of hardening of the arteries. 1 in 3 children is obese. 1 in 3 will develop diabetes. More than 25% of children take prescription drugs on a regular basis. And this is Dr. Bill Sears. He's known as America's pediatrician. He actually found our community over 20 years ago when he himself was diagnosed with cancer. And he shares that really adults aren't faring any better. 1 in 3 live with some form of cardiovascular disease. 1 in 3 women will have cancer and 1 in 2 men will have cancer. That's a staggering stat. 1 in 3 women will have cancer and 1 in 2 men. But I think it's almost even more alarming that that's not more talked about and that that's not common knowledge considering how high those numbers are. 1 in 3 will have diabetes by 2050 and 1 in 3 is obese. But that's the end of the depressing information. The reason why we're on tonight, the reason why we're passionate is because of this big quote at the bottom. 75% of all chronic disease is preventable. And there's no doubt that there are things that we face that maybe we have absolutely no control over. But the truth is that many Americans are dying of lifestyle-related chronic diseases. And we do have more control than we think, and we can feel encouraged by this control. So oxidative stress is linked to poor health. Well, what the heck is oxidative stress? Well, we all have it. If we're breathing, we have oxidative stress, so that's good. However, we do things that can cause our oxidative stress, which is the root of all disease, aging, and death. It is cellular damage. We can do things that cause it to increase. So it could maybe be some good behaviors like exercising, running, or maybe even being pregnant would cause you to have more oxidative stress. It could also be negative behaviors like smoking, staying up too late, not getting enough sleep. But the truth is that we're all dealing with it. And what it is that we have these free radicals in our body that are pinging our cells millions of times a day. And every time they hit our cell, they cause a little bit of damage to that cell. But God knew that we were going to face stress. And so he gave us, a way to fix it. And he gave us antioxidants. And what happens is that when we eat these antioxidants, those antioxidants donate a proton to the free radical and they neutralize the free radical. And then they keep it from pinging our cells. So a great way to think about it is to imagine an apple. when you slice it open and the flesh is exposed to the air, it begins to oxidize. It begins to brown, to rust, to age. But we know if we take lemon juice, an antioxidant, and we squeeze it on the flesh of the apple, it delays that aging process. And that really is what antioxidants are for us. They are anti-aging in our body, which is profound. And we all know where we get antioxidants from, right? From fruits and vegetables. But today's mass-produced produce is packing a much less nutritional punch. There's two main reasons for this. One of them is soil depletion, which I'm not going to go into tonight, but you should be aware of that. So if you aren't, Google it. But the second is that it's mass-produced. So I can go to Schnucks and buy just about any fruit or vegetable I'd like, and it's available to me in any quantity. But in order for that to happen, we are picking fruits and vegetables far before they are ripened on the vine. And that is when they get most of their nutrition. Fruit or vegetable gets most of its nutrients within the last 24 to 48 hours of ripening on the vine. I've heard a really cool comparison. I've heard it compared to a baby. You know, we know the difference between a baby at 40 weeks and 38 weeks, and a baby at 38 weeks and 36 weeks, 36 and 34. And really the fruit or vegetable is the baby of that plant. And it's meant to be connected to its nutrient source till it is ripened. Like our baby is meant to be connected for 40 weeks. And the results of picking it too early are really scary. So this was the iron content that was present in a bowl of spinach in 1953. And in 1997, so over 20 years ago, you had to eat 43 bowls of spinach to get the same iron content that you got in 1953. And I actually believe that this image really explains some of the staggering statistics from the doctors earlier, because we know that fruits and vegetables are good for us. We all try to eat well. But compared to our ancestors, this really is where we are fighting an uphill battle. Not only is our world more toxic, but our food really is severely depleted in nutrition. So most of us are not getting enough. And this is, looking at this bowl of spinach, we're just talking about iron. But what a lot of people don't know is that they're actually identifying thousands of unique nutrients in our plants. They've identified over 20,000 in one apple, over 25,000 in one blueberry, and over 14,000 in one avocado. And there was a time in the 1950s and 1960s when we thought there were 12 essential nutrients in plants. That's when we came up with the multivitamin. We decided to isolate synthetic, make them, put them in an a multivitamin, and we thought we were bridging the gap. But as we know, we have not gotten any healthier. And what we are learning now that we're discovering all of the vast variety of nutrients in our food is that all of those nutrients work synergistically together. So ingredient number 7 works with ingredient number 10,002 and 20,001. And there's two awesome examples of synergy. One is that this apple that you're looking at right here only has about 5.7 milligrams of vitamin C. But when you eat it and digest it, it's the equivalent of taking a 1,500 milligram isolated vitamin C tablet. And that's because that vitamin C is meant to come along with all of those other thousands of nutrients. Also, lycopene is found in a tomato, and it's known to fight prostate cancer. But they're finding that when they remove the lycopene from the tomato, it has no effect on the cancer. And that's because that lycopene is meant to work with everything else present in a tomato. So outside of certain situations, we really don't have vitamin deficiencies. We have whole food deficiencies, and we need more of the whole food. So for a long time, I went too fast there. For a long time, the government said 5 a day, and then they increased it to 7 to 13. But that's if you're healthy and you don't exercise. If you exercise, if you're pregnant, if you're fighting disease, or if you're overweight, you actually need 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. That's insane. I struggle to get 5 to 7. The government did a big campaign saying more matters, and they're right. In fact, there are some studies that suggest that within the next 50 years, we will have to eat 30 servings of fruits and vegetables a day to fight the toxicity in our environment. So we could all use more, and that's why I'm so thankful, and Erica and Jess, who will be sharing soon, that I was introduced to this amazing product called Juice Plus. So I love to tell the backstory because it's amazing how it came about. So it was developed by a doctor over 30 years ago. His name is Dr. Smokey Santillo, and he was a holistic practitioner that helped cancer patients juice. And his own dad was diagnosed with lymphoma and given 3 weeks to live. So Dr. Smokey decided that he had to find a way to make that juice more powerful. So he decided that instead of juicing the fruits and vegetables, he was going to take the whole thing, the pit, the peel, the rind, the seeds, blend it in a blender. What was left was like a slurry, and then he dehydrated that slurry at a cold temperature to preserve the nutrients, and it resulted in a powder. He pumped his dad full of this powder, and his dad ended up living for 6 more years. And not only did he live, but he had quality of life, which is so unique in cancer patients today. And it was at that point that Dr. Smokey knew that he was on to something. So it took him a couple of years to find a company like this that shares information this way, because this is not a vitamin or a supplement. It can't sit on store shelves. It literally is food in a capsule, and it would go bad, and it needs to be explained. And so 25 years ago, he partnered with the Juice Plus company. We're actually coming up on 26 years of this being in the market, which is really, really profound for a product like this. So I'll tell you what's unique about it in a second, but for a moment, I want you to look at all the variety and color and, really variety on this page. And I want you to know that food is information to your body. And so if they wanted to test you for breast cancer, every single time they'll give you a certain mineral that when they give it to you, it goes straight to your breast. Certain nutrients do the same thing in your body every single time. They go to different spots. And so that's where variety is so key. And when you saw all of those hundreds of ingredients in an apple, all of those ingredients go to different unique places. And so it's really cool to imagine what kind of impact this could have on your health if you had this variety consistently every single day, day over day, month over month, year over year, because it does do unique things in your body. And I love that. So there's 3 things that make Juice Plus totally unique. And the first is my favorite. It's food. It has a nutrition label. You cannot overdose. There is no warning label. If you can eat a salad or fruits or vegetables, you can eat Juice Plus. That spoke to me. In fact, I found the product when my son was 3 months old. And at 6 months old, I was able to open the capsule, put it in his mouth or in his pureed food, because he could eat food, so he could eat Juice Plus. So it's full of that phytonutrition that we saw was in an apple. All those hundreds of ingredients, those are in our capsules, not isolated synthetic vitamins. It's non-GMO, dairy-free, and gluten-free. It's NSF certified, which is a third party that validates that what we say is in our product is and nothing more. It's the highest level of certification you can receive. We've had it for over 20 years, but the reason why I love NSF is because they ensure that our powders are free of any herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, yeast, mold, bacteria, and heavy metals. And when I buy my organic apple at Schnucks, I am not sure that it's free of all those things, so I love that. And then finally, when it hit the market 25 years ago, people had unique experiences. So they decided, we are going to see, what is this doing on human beings with blood drawn? And we are the most researched nutritional product in the world, with 38 published studies and 9 underway. We've been researched at Brigham Young, MD Anderson Cancer Center, Yale, Vanderbilt, some of the most prestigious facilities here in the States and abroad. And I'm going to take a second to tell you my favorite study, because it's amazing. So this was the brainchild of a group of cardiologists. It was done at the University of Maryland and published in the JACC. And these cardiologists know that over 50% of heart attacks happen 5 hours after a high-fat meal. It's why Thanksgiving and Christmas are terrible days in the emergency room. And they decided that they wanted to see the effects of Juice Plus on heart health. So they took a group of people to McDonald's, and they fed them a pretty standard McDonald's breakfast. They waited 4 hours and measured the constriction in their brachial artery. So that's this gray bar that you see. Okay, so everybody had about 40 to 50% constriction. Just 4 hours later, their body was working 40 to 50% harder to pump their blood through. Then they divided the group up into 3. They put one group on a placebo. They put one on our fruits and our veggies. And then the last group was on our fruits, veggies, and our berry blend. They waited 28 days. The purple bar is 28 days later. Took them back to McDonald's, fed them the same meal, waited 4 hours, measured the constriction in their artery. The placebo group had a slight reduction. They also had the least amount of constriction to begin with. The group on our fruits and our veggies, they had a reduction in constriction of over 60%, just 28 days later. And then the group on all 3, fruits, veggies, and berries, they had almost 50% constriction down to less than 1%. And the reason why I love this study is because this group changed nothing else. All they did was add in 6 capsules full of powdered fruits and vegetables, and their body knew how to respond. And I think sometimes it's easy to say, well, if I'm having the ice cream, I might as well throw everything else in. It's just, whatever. I can't be perfect, so I'm not going to do anything. But our body's not like that. Our body responds to doing more of what's good. In fact, I read a pregnancy study that said you're better off adding in good than you are eliminating the bad. Sorry. I'm like, oh no, my computer's going to restart. You're better adding in the good than you are eliminating the bad. But the truth is, that's not only true about pregnancy. That's true for all of us. Thankfully, if it's real food and your body recognizes it, you will see benefits. So it is not about being perfect. It's about doing the next right thing. So our core product are fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules. But our company saw that really in our country, we have an abundance of macronutrition, but very little of it is of high quality. So I'm talking about proteins, fats, and carbs. This is where they came up with our delicious shakes. They come in chocolate and vanilla. They'll actually fill your belly. And they're really just like a healthy and easy fast food. So they're low glycemic, so they stabilize your blood sugar. The number one thing my friends tell me about our shakes is that they actually keep them full. And that's not because they have 50 grams of protein. It's because they keep your blood sugar stable. They're vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free, full of plants, and powerful prebiotic fibers and oligosaccharides. Those oligosaccharides help to heal the lining of your gut, which is really important in a time when many people are dealing with leaky gut issues. And then in October, it will be 2 years that we came up with our Juice Plus Omega Blend. We know that, many people are deficient in high quality omegas, and that omegas support the heart, brain, joints, skin, and eyes. And many of us are bridging the gap with a fish oil, but fish oils have problems. Number one, it's not sustainable. It takes 3 to 4 pounds of fish to get 1 ounce of fish oil. Number two, our fish are toxic. So we started out the whole talk talking about our increase in toxicity in our environment. So we decided to skip the fish and go straight to the algae, which is where the fish get their omegas from. And we made it a full spectrum omega supplement. So it's omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, all from plants, all from high quality sources. What's really cool is we came up with the technology to cold press our capsules. So I've taken in the past omega supplements that were fully encapsulated. And when they encapsulate that way, they have to heat up the capsule, which then in turn heats up the oil inside of the capsule and degrades the quality of the oil. So I will be honest, I was very annoyed when we launched our Omega Blend because I thought we had the perfect product and I didn't know why we were messing with perfection. But personally, it helped me with anxiety and I was hooked. But what I have seen from my customers and friends in terms of joints and eyes is amazing. So I absolutely love this product now. And our research hopefully will be out this year. I'm really excited for that. So I'm going to wrap this part up with a quote from Dr. Richard Du Bois. He was head of infectious disease in Atlanta, Georgia. He's been named America's top doc, and he was one of the first of now thousands of healthcare professionals to recommend our product. And he said, there is nothing available anywhere else in the world with or without a prescription that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask Jess to unmute herself. And Jess, if you'll just share with us why you decided to embrace Juice Plus and what you've seen. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I got on Juice Plus a little over 4 years ago. Julie introduced it to me. And all I kind of remember her describing, I'm sure she went through a lot, but I do remember essentially there's kale in a capsule, cabbage, all those fruits and vegetables in a capsule form. I knew that fruits and vegetables were super important for us to take in, but I also knew that knowing that I still wasn't getting enough of it. So that's where I said, sign me up. And just through the journey or getting started, really what kind of hit home for me is just the peace of mind. Like Julie mentioned, you're doing something good for yourself. Every morning I start my morning with taking those capsules. And every day can't be perfect, but I know that at the end of every day, I'm at least getting over 30 fruits and vegetables into my diet. And so that's just a really, really strong thing, super valuable. And then things really did click, like Julie mentioned, when I was able to give Raylan the capsule. So at 6 months, the same thing, I poured the capsule into her food, and now she literally just chews up the capsule. So I knew that this was huge, being able to give this to her and keep her healthy and strong as well. And so just over time, my skin, my eyes, energy level has been a huge thing for me ever since being on the product. And again, just at the end of the day, being a busy mom, working full time, just trying to keep things afloat, just providing myself, my body, my family with these capsules have been super, super valuable.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Jess. Erica, if you can unmute yourself and just share why you decided to add Juice Plus back in, we'd love to hear from you.
Hey, so I used to take Juice Plus.
For some reason, you took your camera away. We can't see you.
Oh, what did I do? Did I fix it?
You're
oh,
good.
There's my pretty.
There's your beautiful face.
Mug. So I used to take Juice Plus as a kid. My mom had signed me up for the children's program, which is awesome thing as well. But then Jess kind of reintroduced it to me about a month ago or so. I was taking another supplement, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but really didn't know what else to do. And I listened to this presentation, and my favorite part is that we have an actual food label instead of just like a supplement label. So I know it's actual nutrition that I'm taking, and also just bridging the gap. I basically follow keto, low carb diet. So I know that I'm getting the things that I'm not taking in on a daily basis. So I just started again 2 weeks ago. I'm excited to see if the omegas make a difference for my joints. I have lots of issues with that. So I'm really excited. And yeah, basically that's it.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you. I hope you see. I'm excited to stay tuned for your story, especially with your joints. But I love that it made sense to her mind. You know, she's a smart nurse, and I remember that night she just turned it over. She's like, I can't believe this has a nutrition label. So, thank you so much for sharing, Erica. You know, personally, I found the product almost 5 years ago, and at the time, you know, I had spent 2 years prior looking into the connection between nutrition and disease. My mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and they put her on a very strong medication. And I decided I wanted to know why this had happened and what other options there were. And this set me on a big path just to learn about what we kind of shared about tonight, and specifically how it related to autoimmune disease. And everything told me to juice, but I just knew I would never juice. So when my sister dragged me to this event 5 years ago to learn about Juice Plus, I was like, oh my gosh, somebody hit the easy button. And I got started on Juice Plus expecting nothing from it. And I really think that's what you should do if you do get started on Juice Plus, because I eat a salad every day and I don't expect to feel different afterwards. I do it because I know it's good for me. But what I found was 2 months in, I had terrible allergies that would lead to sinus infections. I'd be on an antibiotic every 8 weeks for most of my life. And here I am now, 4.5 years later. I have not been on an antibiotic in 4.5 years. My allergies have gotten better every single year, which was a sign that my immune system wasn't balanced. And it's definitely healing, which is awesome. I found I had more energy. I found I was happier, which I later learned over 80% of our serotonin is made in our gut. So it made sense that I was just feeding my gut well and my body knew how to respond. And so the more I learned about it, the more convicted I was to share what Jess said, that they put kale and broccoli into a capsule or chewable, and everyone deserves to know that that's out there. But we really invite you to do one of three things. Maybe you're feeling pumped up to maybe make some dietary changes, or just make sure you get more plants into your everyday. And if that's where you're at, we totally support you. We want you to do the next right step for you. Secondly, maybe you're interested in adding in Juice Plus, and if you are, we are so excited for you. It is the easiest way that we know to add a massive amount of nutrition to busy families. We have an amazing program where any adult who takes Juice Plus can sponsor any child. It doesn't even have to be your own. Age 4 through 18 or full-time college undergrad for free for up to 4 years, which is so cool. So make sure you ask the person who shared this with you about that. And then finally, if you saw this information and you thought of, oh, my mom, my sister, my cousin, they all need to hear about this. That really is the mission that we're on. We're on a mission to inspire healthy living around the world. So if you are thinking of people in your life that need to hear this message, please let the person who invited you to this or shared this recording with you, please let them know, because we would love to help get this information to them. So at this point, I'm going to stop the recording.